Australia's 9.2% unemployment rate. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heiser and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. I have my stein of coffee and I hope you're having a relaxing Sunday, getting ready to get back to work tomorrow. Now I thought we'd have a look at some unemployment figures for Australia, because in the recent video I made saying that, frankly I believe that Australia is in a recession on a per capita GDP basis, and that has the same effect as being in a recession. Someone left a comment saying that there were different unemployment figures. Now, I'm a political nerd, you may not be surprised, and I'm interested in these type of things, but it's been a long time since I've actually looked at the methodology used to determine our unemployment rate. And there's actually competing opinions on how it should be measured. And I think that, frankly, probably the one that measures it the simplest and gives us the worst result may be the most useful for planning for the economy, or gives a most accurate representation of what's happening. So I thought we'd have a look at the unemployment rate from Ray Morgan. And this is, Ray Morgan's like a 70-year-old marketing company here in Australia, market research company, and they've done a whole lot back in the 50s, and they do monthly underemployment and unemployment telephone surveys, and they've got a different methodology to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. I thought what we'll do is we'll look at these guys, we'll look at their results, we'll compare it to the ABS's, and just look at the two different approaches, so you can be aware that this exists and have a bit of an understanding of how it's measured, because that can make a world of difference. So what I've got here is I've got the Ray Morgan unemployment and underemployment estimates from 2005 to 2019. So it's starting here, 2005. What was it? Unemployed or underemployed, the total was 15.2%. I really think that's an important figure, because particularly nowadays, I hope that would capture some of the people doing the gig economy that aren't employed enough, or some of the people working for a third-party contractor between them and their real employer and are not getting enough hours, those type of things. So we'll have a look. That was 2005, and we'll scroll down here. And you can see here, like in December quarter of 2014, 19.6 was people who were underemployed and unemployed. It was 10% here were unemployed, and this is their underemployed figure here at 9.6%. So we'll shoot all the way down. It's all, you can get this all on the website, which is fantastic that they're making it available. And let's look at 2019. So in January, the combined figure was 18.7, and right now we've got 18.6, and that's an unemployment rate of 9.2 and an underemployed rate of 9.4%. Okay, so those are big numbers. And they're different to what the Australian Bureau of Statistics is reporting. I think this one here, the underemployed rate, is really important. Let's just look at it from the year. So it's kind of gone steady, dropped down a bit before the election. It's gone up a little bit again, so it's sitting there. These, under unemployment, 9.2, went up in March, then went down and up again. Now, one of the differences is they don't seasonally adjust their figures. And we'll have a look at that in a bit different when we're learning a bit more about how the ABS measures it. So let's jump and compare. So they've got a comparison between their unemployment estimates, and the ABS's unemployment estimates, percent of workforce unemployed. So total looking for work, they've got that here in the hundreds of thousands. So it's 1.1 million in January there. And the way that the ABS is reporting it, you can just see here, they're pointing 954,000. So look at just the difference in those figures there. That is really, I think, the way they measure how many people are looking for work. And the ABS will cut people out of it if they don't meet particular requirements. And we'll look at that a bit later. But fundamentally, if you don't meet the special ABS rules for looking for work, you're discarded. Where here, it's just much simpler. So what do you think in day to day? What do you think matters? I'm leaning more towards this figure here. So they've got the original, so that's the trend, and then they seasonally adjust the unemployment rate, and this is in 1993. Now we'll just jump ahead quickly to, this is the Reserve Bank of Australia, their information pamphlet, and we'll scroll down here just so I will share with you an explanation for seasonal unemployment and why they seasonally adjust these figures, why the ABS adjusts it, in case you're not aware, because you would have heard it all the time. But, sometimes it's good to hear the explanation. So seasonal unemployment occurs at different points over the year because of seasonal patterns that affect jobs. Some examples include ski instructors, fruit pickers, and holiday-related jobs. The ABS publishes seasonally adjusted labour market statistics which remove the seasonal patterns in the data. So they get rid of this change. So, which I think is interesting that they're getting rid of it, because they want to just know the underlying trends in the economy and to read that from it. But it's something to keep in mind when you're looking at all of these figures. So let's have a look. We'll scroll all the way down to today. Come on. And while I'm doing that, I'll have a coffee. It's good coffee. So let's have a look at January. And I need to scroll all the way up just to make sure what I'm looking at. Yep. So this is their unemployment percentage, and this is their original and their seasonally adjusted unemployment percentage. So we'll scroll back down to January. We'll see here in January, Roy was saying we're at 9.2% unemployment. The ABS was saying at 5.1, seasonally adjusted at 5%. Okay, because there's obviously some increase in unemployment in January. I know in construction, December, Jan that's when you take your holiday. Really, that's when you take your holiday. You tell the guys, okay, come on, take a longer holiday here. There's no point in having you in the office. We're slow. And I'd noticed that every season. So February, Roy was saying at 9.6. The ABS was at 5, and then seasonally adjusted down to 4.1. Could you imagine the hoo-ha? Yes, unemployment is down. We're here, unemployment has gone up. So they're saying it's going up in that period, and they're saying it's going down in that period. So in March, they had 10.9%. And that was the average calculated for the previous 3 months. Okay, they're reading it here. So it was at the quarter. And then here they've got, in the ABS, is at 5 and 5. Look at that difference. They're saying there's nearly double the unemployment rate of the ABS. And frankly, that is what some economists are saying, that just take the ABS figures and double them to get a more accurate representation of where unemployment sits. So in April, we were at 8.9 according to Roy, 5.1 at ABS. May, 9.5, 5.1, sorry, and 5.2 for both of those. And in June, the latest figures, 2 weeks ago, they're at 9.2. And the ABS hasn't released anything, or at the time I checked this morning. None of the information's on the table. So they're just showing you the differences in data that they have. And it all comes down to how it's measured. Let's look at the methodology here from Ray Morgan before we dig into the ABS's methodology. So, before I do that, another coffee. It's good. I mean, it's Sunday, guys. It's a relaxing day. I can hear the birds chirping outside. So I thought, let's talk about unemployment. So, Ray Morgan measures real unemployment in Australia, not the perception of unemployment, June 8th, 2012. So, this is a few years old, but doesn't really change, does it? The Ray Morgan unemployment estimate is obtained by surveying an Australia-wide cross-section by face-to-face interviews. A person is classified as unemployed if they are looking for work no matter when. Okay, so if you're looking for work no matter when, you're classed as unemployed. That seems rather obvious, doesn't it? You'd think the ABS would be doing it like that, but no, they don't. No, it's a bit more complicated. The results are not seasonally adjusted and provide an accurate measure of monthly unemployment estimates in Australia. So they're not adjusting it for seasonal changes. I wonder how this will... we'll have a look at the way they ask their questions deals with a few changes. So the Australian Bureau of Statistics unemployment estimates are obtained by mostly telephone interviews. Households selected for the ABS survey are interviewed each month for 8 months, with 1/8 of the samples being replaced each month. The first interview is conducted face-to-face. Subsequent interviews are then conducted by telephone. So have you been interviewed, because I never have, by either of these groups? Let us know in the comment if you have. Thumbs up on the video if you want to be. The ABS classifies a person as unemployed if, when surveyed, they have been actively looking for work in the 4 weeks up to the end of the reference week, and if they were available for work in the reference week. Okay, so that's important. So if you were looking for work, in those 4 weeks, but you aren't available for work in the reference week, even though you're still unemployed, what does that mean? That means you're not captured in this. What if some strange circumstances or something comes up that, okay, no, I'm not available for work this week, I will be from next week? So are they measuring real unemployment or the people that desperately need unemployment real quick on an instant? The ABS classifies a person as employed if, when surveyed, a person worked for 1 hour or more during the reference week for paid profit commission or payment in kind, even if a person worked for 1 hour or more without pay in a family business or on a small farm. Wow. Okay, 1 hour. The Australian Bureau of Statistics underemployment estimate are also seasonally adjusted. For this reason, the ABS unemployment estimates are different. Oh wait, sorry. That's their unemployment estimates, are seasonally adjusted, not their underemployment. We're not even looking at that yet. For these reasons, the ABS unemployment estimates are different than Roy Morgan unemployment estimates. Gary Morgan's concerns regarding the ABS unemployment estimate is clearly outlined in his letter to the Australian Financial Review, which was not published. Well, there you go. So we've got the RBA. This is their information pamphlet about it and how it's measured. Not in the labour force, not looking for work for other reasons, retired, permanently unable to work. And it's a little bit more complicated than this. It's a little bit more complicated. We'll look at what the ABS has actually provided about it. But I'll link to this as well if you want to have a look. And let's look at, I'm more interested actually in the information that they've shared by Gary Morgan and his team at Ray Morgan. So regarding perception of statistics by Ewing, Acting Australian Statistician, Canberra ACT, the Australian Letter Section, June 6, 2012. So they're responding. Ian of the ABS writes, the ABS Labour Force Survey provides an objective measure of people's actual labour market activity using endorsed international standards and has been doing so consistently for almost 50 years, while the Morgan survey measures people's perceptions of employment or unemployment status. Okay, well, let's just take a step back. Even if he's 100% right and it just measures their perceptions, what do you think is actually important? What do you think is important? The reality that they have a methodology that measures it in a particular way, or people's day-to-day perceptions? People are not as rational as economists traditionally want to believe that we are. People are not. People are affected by perception. That's why you have all these nutter, lefties thinking that Stephen Molyneux is a racist just because based on perception or something he's saying at an event. People are there. It's why in America there are people who are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome and think he's the second coming of Hitler or something. It's all to do with perception. That's the most important part of the economy and the media and everything. That's why you'll hear all our politicians spinning everything to try and trap more people into housing debt. Anyway, so this assertion by Ian Ewing is wrong. Roy Morgan unemployment estimate is an accurate measure of the true state of the employment market in Australia based on what respondents tell us about their employment status. Those surveyed are asked, and this is important, so are you now in paid employment? Okay, that's the first question they ask. So let's all do this now. Are you now in paid employment? So if no, are you self-employed or a consultant? So I'd answer no to the first one, but I go yes. If yes, do you work full-time or part-time? I'm going yes, so I'm full-time, I'm out. So if still no, are you now looking for a paid job? There you go. That's an interesting one too. So they're digging a bit deeper. If you're a consultant working from home but you want to get a proper job, this is how they capture that. That's important. And a full-time job for 35 hours a week or more, or a part-time job. Those in part-time employment are also asked, are you now looking for a full-time job or additional hours? So I think that that's quite smart how they've addressed it, and it shows an understanding of the decisions people have to make when they're employed or when they lose work, which I think is good. So this is going in the statistics of, in May, Ray Morgan found 2.1 million Australians were unemployed or underemployed. It should be noted that Ray Morgan releases a monthly underemployment estimate, which the ABS only currently releases on a 3-monthly basis. That just shows you how important this is. Over 50,000 Australians are interviewed each and every year, over 1,000 Australians each weekend, to determine the Ray Morgan underemployment estimate. Our methodology is summarized on each and every Ray Morgan underemployment published. The Ray Morgan underemployment estimate is obtained by surveying an Australian-wide cross-section by face-to-face interviews. An unemployed person is classified as part of the labour force if they reported they are looking for work. The results are not seasonally adjusted and provide an accurate measure of monthly unemployment estimates in Australia. There is no seasonal adjustment of the monthly Roy Morgan unemployment estimates, and people saying they are unemployed are not excluded by Ray Morgan as they are by the ABS, who use unrealistic conditions to classify if a person is employed. The key ABS classifications restrictions are noted in every estimate. So the ABS classifies an unemployed person as part of the labour force only if, when surveyed, they have been actively looking for work in the 4 weeks up to the end of the reference week, and if they were available for work in the reference week. So you can see how, with the way that they are classifying it, they're not getting as accurate a representation as the Morgan poll is because of the criteria. But the problem is, and here's the problem, ABS are trapped. If they change their methodology now, 50 years of data is no longer going to be compatible. Should they be doing 2 surveys? Should they be providing 2 lots of information? This ABS requirement means many Australians who are ready, willing and able to commence employment are not counted as unemployed by the monthly ABS unemployment estimate. People might say, what difference does it make if there are 2 measures of unemployment? The problem is that the ABS unemployment estimates are paraded by the federal government and government ministers, Treasurer Swain one in particular, as indicative of their good economic policies. So, he makes a good point here. And this in turn leads to political errors by the federal government, the RBA and others, which consequently mislead businesses and decision makers looking to invest in the future. Unfortunately, decisions made on the basis of the ABS unemployment figures have real consequences for Australia and Australians. The RBA's determination to maintain Australia's interest rates at well above the rates of comparable countries, not anymore, means real Australians and real Australian businesses suffer from higher borrowing costs and restricted lending in Australia. So this is showing that this is a dated document now because we're at 1%. We got it now. And look at the figures here of May. When was this published? This is published in 2012. So yeah. So let's have a look at the ABS methodology for measuring unemployment. So the ABS unemployment data are key indicators of labour market performance. They present a snapshot of available labour supply at a particular point in time. The unemployment data are published monthly from the Labour Force Survey in Labour Force Australia and are presented by many characteristics including age, sex, marital status, geography, country of birth, and duration of job search. The key points. The ABS uses internationally agreed standards in defining unemployment, and the key indicators have been measured in a consistent way since 1966. And this is the thing. You can't innovate your methodology, sadly, if you're trapped by the past. Should the methodology be adapted for different forms of employment? I know it's tough. To be classified as unemployed, a person needs to meet the following 3 criteria: not working more than 1 hour in a reference week, actively looking for work in the previous 4 weeks, and being available to start work in the reference week. Why? Why do you have to be available to start work in the reference week? Maybe there should be criteria to that. Maybe there'd be certain criteria that will cut you out of that reference week, but I get the feeling it doesn't. The ABS produces a range of measures in addition to the unemployment rate to help users understand the extent of underutilized labor supply, such as underemployment. So, the International Labour Organization defines unemployed people as those who are not working 1 or more hours a week and actively seeking work and currently available for work. The ABS adheres to the international standards and defines unemployed persons as those aged 15 years and over who are not employed during the reference week and have actively looked for full-time or part-time work at any time in the 4 weeks up to the end of the reference week and were available for work in the reference week, or were waiting to start a new job within 4 weeks from the end of the reference week and could have started in the reference week if the job had been available then. Why does the ABS define unemployment in this way? As can be seen from the definition above, there are 3 criteria which determine labor force status, and therefore to categorize a person as unemployed, namely where they have work, and if not, whether they are actively looking for work and whether they're available for work, each of these criteria are examined in more detail below. Okay. So, without work. This criteria is used to distinguish those who have work and those who do not. The ABS counts everyone who works for at least 1 hour in the reference week as employed. While an hour cutoff point could be argued to be insufficient to sustain a family or a person financially, it could. There are several reasons for including everyone who works at least 1 hour a week as employed. From an economic perspective, any time in paid work, no matter how small, contributes to economic production and is therefore included in the national accounts. Fundamentally, labor force statistics are economic indicators and need to be coherent with other economic measures. Socially, it is recognized that employment is associated with improved psychological and social well-being. It is therefore important to distinguish between those who have any work, even a small number of hours, and those who do not. By applying the 1 hour criteria, the ABS is measuring unemployment in an intentionally consistent manner. There you go, which enables governments and policymakers to draw on international comparisons. If the 1 hour criteria was not used, it is not clear what cutoff should apply. Some people who work for relatively few hours each week do not necessarily want to work more. That's fine. To complement the unemployment measure, the ABS recognizes the potential economic and social impacts of underemployment and where people want to and are available to work more hours. Currently, people who work fewer than 35 hours per week are asked if they would like to work and are available for more hours. Data on underemployment, a measure of those employed people whose labor is not being fully utilized, are currently available quarterly alongside the unemployment data and will be available monthly from early 2015. Okay, so they have been doing it monthly. That letter I read was out of date, which maybe they're responding to Morgan doing it. If someone else can, why can't we? Actively seeking work. Only those who are taking active steps to find a job or have done so in the past 4 weeks are counted as unemployed. See, this is the thing. You may have a huge chunk of your population who just aren't looking for work anymore, so they're not counted as unemployed. So, through looking for work, people make their willingness to work known and are therefore participating in the labour market. Only active job search steps are considered, as they are likely to result in the person making contact with prospective employers. Active job search steps include writing, telephoning, or applying to an employer for work, answering an advertisement for a job, checking or registering with an employment agency, advertising or tendering for work, and contacting friends or relatives. Checking notice boards and being registered with Centrelink as a job seeker are currently also considered active job search steps, but this will change from July 2014. Okay, I wonder why that is. For further details, see Labour Statistic News. Some people maybe they're doing that. Did they do that to make the unemployment rate look better because they can remove a whole lot of people who are just doing these two things? That seems strange. That seems really strange. You should be participating. If you're a job seeker at Centrelink, you should be a participant in the labour market because you are. Some people might want to work but have given up actively looking because they believe they will not find a job. These people are called discouraged job seekers and are not considered to be unemployed. So there you go. While they can be thought of as a potential pool of labour until their circumstances or job search activities change, they are regarded as having marginal attachment to the labour force. So they're removing all the discouraged long-term unemployed people from the labour force. So, I mean, they're only marginally attached. How are you going to implement policy that can address this part of the population if you're ignoring them from the statistics? Because remember, this makes government policy decision is done based on these statistics. This is evidence that people trot out in Facebook arguments. So it seems they should be providing both data, both figures. They should be providing the traditional unemployment rate, then a modified unemployment rate, which accounts for this population. Both sets of data should be made available so you can make the choices. It's not going to cost any more. I mean, come on. So, currently available for work. This criterion is needed to ensure that unemployment data represents a snapshot of current available labour supply at a particular point in time. The short time period to define currently available allows meaningful measures of current levels and changes in unemployment to be determined, as well as being consistent with the short reference period for people to be classified as employed. Some people might like to work and are actively looking, but are not currently available to work, such as a parent looking after young children and needing to arrange childcare. Those who are actively looking for work and are not currently available are also considered marginally attached to the labour force. Well, where's the statistics of showing how many people are marginally attached to the labour force? Why isn't that provided? Where's that data? I want to see that data. Because I think it's interesting. So, how does the ABS measure unemployment? The ABS measures unemployment by collecting data from a monthly survey of about 26,000 dwellings, as well as a selection of hotels, hospitals, boarding schools, colleges, prisons, and Indigenous communities throughout Australia. Overall data are collected from about 52,000 people, which forms a representative sample of the Australian population. Respondents are not asked whether they are unemployed. Instead, the ABS uses self-guided online questionnaires or trained interviewers to ask a range of questions to determine whether a person is unemployed based on the three criteria above. The ABS then scales up the people in the survey sample using the most recent population figures to provide a picture of the population. Can we see the questions? Roy Morgan showed us the questions. Where are yours? The ABS unemployment measure is available on a consistent basis since 1966, and they seem to be proud of that, don't they? For more information about the questionnaires used in LFS, see information paper questionnaires used in the labour force survey. Okay, I will have a look at that. So I've managed to find the questions, and we can have a look at them here, and you can just see the complexity of it. You know, question Q019. I would like to ask you about last week, that is, the week starting Sunday something and ending last Saturday. Last week, did you, John, do any work at all in a job, business, or farm? Yes, no. Permanently unable to work, permanently not intending to work. Question 20. Last week, did you do any work paid in a family business? Yes, no. I mean, so I'll link to this, guys, if you want to have a look at it, but you can just see the methodology that they're using here compared to it. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm not surprised they're reaching different results, and just the time taken to conduct the survey this isn't a short amount of time, 23 pages of questions. So let's jump back to this here. So the ABS labor force framework, and this is interesting. The ABS labor force framework below shows how the ABS classifies people as employed, unemployed, or not in the labor force. So here's the population. So if you're engaged in economic work, you're employed and you're part of the labor force. Tick. So if you're not engaged in economic work and you're not actively looking for work, you're not in the labor force. Cross. So if you're actively looking for work, but you can't start work at that reference week, you're not in the labor force. Where if you're available to start work, you're unemployed. So this is where they're saying single mothers and those type of things who can't work but are looking for work. Are they really looking for work then? If they can't start, if they can't actually work? Why are they looking for work if they can't work? Maybe they can't work at that moment, there'd have to be a delay to starting work. Maybe that should be captured. But, I'd say that may underreport it. Well, it obviously is. It's why we're getting two sets of data, isn't it? What do you think would be more important, to include these people or exclude them? Let me know what you think in the comments with regard to policy decision, with regard to the state of the economy as well. So, supplementary measures of joblessness and labor underutilization. While the unemployment rate is the most widely known and used measure of labor underutilization, the ABS publishes a range of measures to supplement the unemployment rate. They include the underemployment rate, the number of people underemployed expressed as a proportion of the labor force, the labor force underutilization rate, the unemployed plus the underemployed expressed as a percentage of the labor force, the long-term unemployment rate, the number of people who have been unemployed for 12 months or more as a percentage of the labor force. Is that the marginally attached? Are they considered marginally attached to the labor force or not? Volume measures of labor underutilization, the hours of labor sought by the underemployed, unemployed, and underemployed as a percentage of the total potential hours in the labor force, and the extent labor force underutilization rate, the unemployed plus the underemployed plus two groups of persons marginally attached to the labor force, expressed as a proportion of the force argumented by the two groups of marginally attached persons. Okay, so they're capturing it there. So I think it's interesting. What are the two groups marginally attached? People who are actively looking for work and who could start work within 4 weeks but are not available to work. Yep. Discouraged job seekers who are defined as people who want to work and could start work within 4 weeks. Okay, so let's look at, what is this? The extended labor force underutilization rate. I'm going to find that and we'll have a look at it. Okay, so once again, I've found the Excel of the data. So there's the extended measure of underutilization from 2015 to 2019. And you've got relative standard error. So we'll have a look at table 22.1. And what do we have here? We've got each state, extended measures of underutilization. So, and we're going here. Come on. February 2019, the underutilization rate extended. New South Wales, what? Is that 17%? Well, there you go. This is for females and for males. Okay, so they've broken it down to sex, and here's per person. So we'll look at that. So February, New South Wales at 17.3, Victoria 19.2, Queensland 20.6, South Australia 21, Western Australia 21.8, Tasmania 21.9, Northern Territory 16.2, ACT 16.2. So Australia, the extended measure of underutilization, February 2019 is at 19.2%. And we'll just, the extended labor force underutilization rate is the unemployed plus the underemployed plus the marginally attached group to the labor force. So that's the people that they kick out of our other, discouraged job seekers and people who are looking for work that can't start. And that, can you see that here, or have I got it too small? Too small. Here we go. Hang on. I'll zoom in. How's that coming up? That's 19.2. So, It's all very interesting. That figure there, 20% underutilization, extended underutilization rate. That is what concerns me. I can't make it bold because it's bright protected. But that's a figure that concerns me, and I think that is what should be discussed. What's our underutilization rate? You know, it was 21%, 20%. Now it's gone down, so that's good. More people are getting utilized in the economy. Let's compare, you know, men 18.8. Let's compare to women 19.8. Higher underutilization rate for women in the labor force. So, in the extended labor force. Sorry. So, guys, I thought I would jump down this rabbit hole to make just, you know, a little bit of a video on Sunday and have a chat. It's good to look at these things and to be aware of them. It's good that we've got ABS versus Ray Morgan. It's good to get a better understanding of where the economy is actually at and where it's going. How do you think, guys? Well, what do you think? Which method do you prefer? Do you prefer the ABS's method, or do you prefer the Ray Morgan method? Or can you start seeing the extended measure of underutilization rate on the TV news appearing every night? You know, do we need to have monthly updates for that? What's feeling more right to you in your sector of the economy, 9.2 or 5.2? You know, I really think the 19.2%, the extended measure of underutilization, I think that is what we need to look at as a civilization. That's the measure that we need to look at. There's no point having people, you know, working 1 hour a week or an Uber job or in these other jobs. It's you know, they are not going to be able to maintain a minimum standard of living. Remember, our GDP per capita is going down. That means our quality of life is going down. That means our ranking on human development index will go down, guys. And don't fall into the trap that Australia is not at risk of losing human development. You know, it can happen. It can happen. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me this Sunday. I know this is probably a longer video than I anticipated, but, you know, you can chill and relax and learn some interesting differences about measuring unemployment or underemployment. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.